I never imagined a simple fishing boat could land me in a courtroom, fighting a battle I'd unwittingly set the stage for a decade earlier. But when that bright yellow envelope from the HOA landed in my mailbox, accusing me of breaking a rule I'd written myself, I knew this was no ordinary dispute. The new HOA president, Evelyn Harper, had no clue who she was up against. I wasn't just another homeowner in Willow Grove Estates, I was the man who'd crafted the very regulations she was twisting to her advantage. What started as a minor irritation spiraled into a war against a power-hungry tyrant, exposing a scheme so brazen it shook our quiet neighborhood to its core. It was a crisp spring afternoon when I found the violation notice, its formal tone and embossed letterhead unmistakable. My fishing boat, parked neatly on the side of my driveway and half hidden by carefully planned landscaping, was allegedly in violation of Section 7.3, saw no recreational vehicles shall be parked in areas visible from the street. Saw Evelyn's signature demanded I move it within 72 hours or face through law 100 daily fines and potential legal action. I stood there, keys dangling in my hand, torn between laughter and fury. That boat was my dream weekends on the lake after years of grinding work. Before buying it, I triple-checked the HOA rules, knowing how obsessive Willow Grove could be about appearances. I was certain I was in the clear. I tried calling Evelyn to explain, but her voicemail greeted me coldly. So I dug into my files, a habit from my 8 years on the HOA board before I'd stepped back to focus on my family and my real estate consulting firm. As a former attorney, I drafted many of our community's guidelines, including Section 7.3. Flipping through my old notes, I froze. There it was, in my own handwriting, unless the vehicle is placed in a designated area or partially screened from street view. The exception I'd fought for to balance aesthetics with practicality was missing from Evelyn's citation. Suspicion crept in. Something was very wrong. Just then, my neighbor Tom Bennett knocked. "Got one too, huh?" he said, while viewing his own yellow envelope. Over coffee on my porch, he told me Evelyn's enforcement squad was hitting half the neighborhood with petty violations just for non-conforming shrubs. He whispered about rumors of Evelyn's plans to triple fines and expand her powers at the next HOA meeting. "She's turning this place into her personal fiefdom," he said. I tapped my copy of the original regulation and grinned. Let's see how she likes it when her own rules turn against her. That night, I shared the situation with my wife, Claire, a sociology professor with a knack for spotting power plays. Her eyes sparkled with intrigue. "She's using your rules against you, but conveniently forgot the part that lets you keep your boat? And she doesn't know you wrote them?" Claire's mind raced ahead, her voice low. "If she's altered one rule without a vote, what else has she changed?" Her question hit hard. This wasn't just about my boat, it was about the integrity of the community we built. The next morning, I called Henry Larson, a former HOA president from my board days. At 70, his memory was razor sharp. "That exception was deliberate," he confirmed. "We didn't want to be draconian." He recalled our long debates, the community input, the legal reviews. "Evelyn's version isn't the one we approved. Check how these changes were made." His words fueled my resolve. Claire, meanwhile, pored over a decade's worth of HOA minutes, her research skills uncovering a bombshell: no record of any vote to remove the exception in Section 7.3 or dozens of other changes in Evelyn's rulebook. Her spreadsheet, color-coded and meticulous, showed 14 sections altered without approval, all tilting power toward the board. As we dug deeper, a disturbing pattern emerged. Since Evelyn took over 3 years ago, violation notices had spiked, targeting newer residents, or those who'd opposed her. Property records showed homes hit with multiple violations often sold below market value, many through Sandra Klein, the HOA treasurer and a real estate agent specializing in distressed properties. It smelled like a racket harass homeowners until they sold cheap, then profit on the resale. A cryptic text from an unknown number led me to a coffee shop meeting with Lisa Morgan, the HOA secretary. Nervously sipping her latte, she whispered, Evelyn's changed at least 12 regulations to target people she dislikes. They're planning surprise inspections next week. She revealed Evelyn and her VYC president, Victor Ramsey, a retired lawyer, tightly controlled access to records, replacing the online versions with their own. I didn't sign up for this, Lisa said, sliding me a USB drive of internal emails. Be careful. Evelyn doesn't like being challenged. Back home, the doorbell rang. Victor Ramsey stood on my porch, his silver hair gleaming, his suit too sharp for a neighborly VY sit. Just a friendly reminder about your boat, he said, his smile icy. He droned on about community standards, dodging my questions about when Section 7.3 was amended. When I pressed for meeting minutes, his composure slipped. Things work differently now, he snapped, his tone edged with a threat. After he left, I dove into Lisa's files. Emails between Evelyn, Victor, and Sandra outlined a chilling neighborhood improvement strategy, targeting homes owned by dissenters or newcomers for priority enforcement. The goal? Force sales at a discount, then flip the properties for profit. I met my old mentor, Arthur Brooks, a semi-retired HOA law expert, for lunch. Laying out our findings, I watched his eyes narrow. State law is clear, he said. Regulation changes need 30 days' notice, a 2/3 board vote, and county filing. If Evelyn skipped those, her rules are void. He leaned forward, voice grave. This smells like fraud, valuing properties for cheap buys. Be careful. People with this much to lose don't play nice. Claire and I hosted a gathering of neighbors: Tom, newcomer Rachel Lee, and the Garcias, all stung by dubious violations. Rachel's overly VY Brandt, porch decor, and the Garcias, non-compliant. Mailbox had landed them fines. As stories poured out, Claire documented each discrepancy. The Garcias' tale was gut-wrenching: weekly violations for months, followed by Sandra offering to solve their problems by listing their home. She had buyers ready, Maria Garcia said, her voice trembling. Our strategy took shape: document every altered rule, compile resident testimonies, trace property sales, and confront Evelyn at the next HOA meeting. A second violation notice arrived, escalating fines and summoning me to a compliance hearing. Then Evelyn herself appeared at our door, her practiced concern barely masking her disdain. Continued non-compliance will have serious consequences, she warned Claire, who shot back. Funny how you're so worried about our boat when your rules don't add up. Evelyn's smile vanished. Don't get confrontational, Mrs. Thompson. The board can make life difficult for those who don't cooperate. A late-night call from a former board member, Diane Foster, added fuel to the fire. Evelyn wanted a more exclusive neighborhood, she said. She had a list of homes to push out through violations. When I objected, Victor told me it was for property values. Diane's testimony, paired with Lisa's leaks, painted a damning picture. She warned me about Carl Weaver, Evelyn's compliance assistant, known for tampering with properties to create violations. Check your boat, she urged. Sure enough, my security camera caught Carl skulking around, snapping photos. The hearing was a farce. Evelyn, Victor, and Sandra sat like judges, their table a throne of intimidation. They pushed for steeper fines and threatened a lien. I stayed calm, requesting the official regulation and proof of its amendment. When they deflected, I produced my signed original, pointing to the exception. Show me the vote that removed this, I said. Evelyn snapped that the board could interpret rules as needed, but under pressure, she admitted there'd been no vote. Confession my recorder caught. I refused the fines and warned I'd share my findings. Victor tried to smooth things over, but Evelyn's parting threat lingered. You're in over your head. Retaliation came fast. A new notice citing my landscaping, a birdhouse, even my home office as violations. Claire's research uncovered 28 homes sold under HOA pressure, 17 tied to Sandra, 6 bought by LLCs linked to Evelyn's circle. Arthur confirmed this was textbook harassment. Then Henry emailed a bombshell. Evelyn hadn't lived in Willow Grove for the required 2 years before her election, violating bylaws. If true, her entire presidency was invalid. The HOA meeting, abruptly moved up to thwart us, was electric. The community center buzzed with record turnout. Evelyn dragged out budget reports, burying resident concerns at the end. When my turn came, she tried limiting me to 1 minute, but I cited bylaws for 5. Displaying side-by-side regulations, I exposed her unauthorized changes. Residents gasped as I revealed the pattern of targeted enforcement and below-market sales. Evelyn's interruptions grew frantic, but I held firm, backed by bylaws. Then I dropped Henry's evidence, Evelyn's ineligibility. Sandra, flustered, admitted they'd hidden it, igniting the room. "You broke our rules to control us," a resident shouted. Henry called for a no-confidence vote, which passed overwhelmingly despite Victor's threats. Arthur, observing quietly, dismantled Victor's legal bluster, affirming the vote's legality. Evelyn stormed out, vowing revenge. That night, my car was vandalized with "You'll pay" in paint Carl's work, caught on a neighbor's camera. The temporary board, led by Henry and Tom, launched an audit, uncovering misused funds. Diane and Lisa's documents detailed Evelyn's demographic purge. Arthur and I prepared for court, while police investigated Carl's vandalism. Evelyn's lawsuit, backed by a flashy law firm, claimed the vote was invalid and I'd defamed her. In court, Lisa, Diane, and even Sandra, now seeking leniency, testified against her. The judge ruled decisively: the vote was legal, Evelyn's regulations void, her actions a breach of duty. Her broader scheme using violations to manipulate property values for a rezoning plot with city officials unraveled publicly. Evelyn, Victor, and others faced fraud and conspiracy charges. Willow Grove reformed its HOA with transparent rules, an ethics committee, and a Bill of Rights. My boat, still in its spot, became a quiet symbol of our fight. As I head to the lake, rod in hand, I reflect on the storm that yellow envelope unleashed. It wasn't just about a boat, it was about defending the lines we draw against injustice. Evelyn underestimated me, not knowing I'd written the rules she wielded. The lesson? Never start a fight without knowing who you're facing, especially when they hold the pen that wrote the game.